Good morning, it's today again. Welcome back to Joseph's Reserves. I'm Joseph and I store 20% of my income in the form of rare coins and precious metals. And today I want to talk about something that I think a lot of people misunderstand when they first get into stacking silver: 90% silver, or what many stackers call junk silver. But honestly, I never really liked that term, because when I look at these coins, I don't see junk at all. I see one of the last periods in American history when ordinary circulating money still contained real silver, intrinsic value. America used to spend silver every single day, and I think we've become so disconnected from that idea that we don't really understand how unusual it is that we don't have silver in our money anymore. Congratulations to Silver Serpents for getting to my comment section first in the last video. Silver Serpents actually has his own YouTube channel, so definitely go check out some of his content. He's going to have a 500 subscriber giveaway coming up soon, so you definitely want to be a part of that. Alright, 90% silver. So let's just start here. Just a bag of 90% silver. Nothing fancy, just worn coins, circulated coins, everyday silver money. But something fascinating happens when you begin to understand the math behind these bags, because stackers slowly stop looking at these coins individually and start recognizing them almost by their silver weight instinctively. You'll see a lot that 0.715 ounces is in a dollar, and that's not really the way any stacker thinks of it. They think of it as 1 ounce being contained within $1.40. And I have $1.40 right here, so this much silver in my hand would be 1 ounce of silver. And it doesn't have to be 2 half dollars and 4 dimes. It could be any way that you make $1.40. So we could throw some quarters in there. But what you'll quickly realize is that here I can cut this in half. I can turn this into 70 cents, which is actually half an ounce. And if I actually do swap these out with quarters, you can see how easily that could be cut in half again to 35 cents to make a quarter of an ounce. So there you have it. A quarter and a dime is quarter ounce, a half dollar and 2 dimes, or any way you make 70 cents being a half ounce, and $1.40 being a full ounce. But this doesn't just scale downwards. If we could scale it up, take that 35 cents and multiply it by 10, we get $3.50, $3.50, or 7 half dollars, and that is already 2.5 ounces of silver. And I think this way is a lot better of a way of looking at it, because we can make $3.50 out of any denomination. It doesn't require the dimes to make these 2.5 ounces. We can make it with 14 quarters or 7 half dollars, or of course the 35 dimes. But simply by doubling that to $7, we can see one of the easiest conversions that happen in this junk silver. $7 is equivalent to 5 ounces of silver. And again, that seems a lot more easy to remember than $1.40 or 0.715 ounces of silver per dollar. And of course, it could just continue to scale up. I'm going to add 70 dimes or $7 of face value right here to make a total of $14 or 10 ounces of silver. And just like you can divide 10 ounces of silver between two 5-ounce bars or 10 1-ounce bars, this becomes a very easy way to have fractional silver dividing up your entire stack in a way that is in smaller bite-sized or smaller monetary size pieces. And of course, my favorite is multiplying this even by 10 to get $140 of face value, which is 100 ounces of silver. That was my first goal with this junk silver, and that's actually why I made these zip-up bags, which are available on my website. I'm currently working on my second 100 ounces of 90% silver, and we'll see how long it takes me to get there. The dream that every stacker has is the ability to use this as money again. With the silver in just 1 dime being about $5 right now, it would make a lot of sense to be able to go to your mom and pop shop or mom and pop owned coffee shop or diner and be able to spend maybe 35 cents on a lunch or even just a dime on your coffee. I already regularly spend this 90% silver with anyone who's willing to accept it as payment, but this is the actual point of 90% silver. This is not symbolic money, it was actually money. It's not fiat currency backed by confidence. This is the silver. This is the actual money. People use this coins to buy gasoline, meals, haircuts, train tickets. Entire generations handled silver every single day without even thinking about it. The other side to this 90% silver is collecting. And most people start with maybe even a typeset or start with those albums and get every single year or year-end mint mark. You'll quickly realize that some years are a lot harder to find than others, and some years, although you can find many examples, are hard to find in a very good condition. This is where numismatic value starts to come into play. And all I'm going to say about numismatic value is that numismatic value is less liquid than silver value. Anyone's willing to pay silver value for a silver coin, but as soon as you have to explain why someone would have to pay more, it's a little bit of a harder sell in any case. Of course, there's always going to be someone looking for a rare date or a scarce date, but keep that in mind when starting to collect the numismatic coins. Today I want to show you a book that holds my typeset. This is a 20th and 21st century typeset book. So a typeset is going to hold one example of each design as those designs change through each denomination. So this first page here, you can see it does have the 1 cent, nickels, and the dimes. We're going to focus on dimes since those are the silver coins. We can see that in the 1900s, we were in the middle of the Barber series. The Barber series is kind of like that right in between of numismatic historic pieces and regular stacking silver. If you find them slick enough or worn enough, then you might be able to buy it for regular silver price. And then we move to the Mercury dime in 1916 and then the Roosevelt dime in 1964. For stacking 90%, the Mercury dime and Roosevelt dimes are both very available. You'll have two schools of thought. Some want less worn coins, let's go for the Roosevelt dimes, and others want immediately identifiable as silver, and those people will go towards the Mercury dime. And you'll see that even more exaggerated in the quarters. For the quarters, we switched from the standing Liberty design in 1930. There was a whole other decade in which we were using George Washington on our quarters before we were using Roosevelt on the dimes. And because of this, the standing Liberty quarters are a lot harder to find. For that reason, a lot of people tend to stray away from quarters, but if you only stack dimes and half dollars, it's going to limit how you can divide into a quarter ounce of silver. Then with half dollars, we have even more options. You can see that the Walking Liberty is part of that Liberty series that started in 1916, and we transitioned to Benjamin Franklin in 1948. However, there was also a transition to John F. Kennedy in 1964. So we get this middle step with Benjamin Franklin where he's the best of both worlds. You're going to find really good condition coins in this Franklin series, and it's going to be immediately recognizable as silver. Of course, we haven't talked yet about them, but there are the dollar coins. The dollar coins are a little bit more silver, so they don't fit the math the same way. People don't stack them the same way as the other 90% silver, but Morgan and Peace dollars also have high numismatic value when it comes to them in higher grade or specific years. Then, of course, we have the Eisenhower dollars, which are 40% silver, and the John F. Kennedy half dollars, which some are also 40% silver. But 40% is kind of a topic for another video. Because it's only 40% silver, the refining costs of these make it very difficult to dump them off at a wholesaler or a refiner. And since we're speaking of 40%, there's also the 35% war nickels, and that's a completely different story. But after putting together a typeset or starting one, and you start to realize how easy it is to acquire these coins, most collectors start to put together date-run albums. So that's what I'm going to bring out next. I actually have a few coins that I need to add to my Morgan and Peace dollar albums. These types of date run albums will hold one example of each year and mint mark combination. Even the harder to find ones, like this one here, the 1921 high relief peace dollar. Yes, it's in pretty poor condition, but I actually bought it as a regular peace dollar when searching through some coins at my local coin shop. I really love these Danceco albums because you can see both sides of the coins. There are other albums that you can see both sides, but this is compared to the folders, like the Whitman folders, that are holes you punch into that you can only see one side of the coin. I just got these Danceco albums a couple weeks ago and I absolutely love them. So as you can see, you're going to be pulling this plastic slide out of the way and placing the coin in to put the plastic back on. The plastic will cover it and protect it so that you don't keep touching it so many times when you look at the album. And with that addition of that 1935 from San Francisco, I now only need 5 other peace dollars to complete my date run. Now onto the Morgan dollars, you can see that there are 2 albums, so significantly more Morgan dollars to collect, and these actually do have a lot of very high dollar coins, so this is a totally different ball game than the peace dollars. I do have a lot to find and a lot to put together, but that is the fun of it. Today I'm adding this 1884 from San Francisco and an 1897 from San Francisco. Y'all let me know down in the comments what you're doing with your 90% silver. Do you keep all of it just in bags? Do you put together these albums or typesets? Are you able to go out and spend it, or do you just ignore 90% altogether? Let me know. And if you like this video, make sure to go down, give it a thumbs up, go into the comment section to start or continue a conversation, share the video with anyone you think may like it, and subscribe if you haven't already. To my long-term subscribers, thank you so much for your continual support. And remember to check out my website, josephsreserves.com, for merchandise, coffee mugs, even the zip-up bag that I showed here, and of course my It's Today Again coffee. But most of all, thank you all so much for watching, and just remember, every ounce adds up. So no matter how small, just keep stacking.